Before I fire this thing up and see if it runs, preferably with no leaks, I'd like to give a little shout out to a YouTube channel I like and I watch constantly. Stephen Cox YouTube channel. He's a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic. He's not only a good mechanic, but he's good at explaining things on YouTube, on video, and making it entertaining, not just dry, here's what this is. It's an entertaining channel. And it's very educational when it comes to mechanics and how, well, it depends on what he's working on at the time and how it works. But if you haven't seen his channel and you want to learn more about mechanics and stuff like that, go check it out. I'll leave a link in the description, and hopefully I'll figure out how to leave a link up here in the top up here. Last time I had my wife put the link up in top, but we won't get into that. Let's fire this thing up and hopefully it runs with no leaks. We'll let that thing run in the background for a minute. Go someplace a little bit quieter. I'll give you guys a little update. The fun last 3 days I've had. Well, it's a little bit quieter in here. The last 2.5, 3 days have been car problems and fixing car problems, or getting car problems and fixing car problems. Starting with the alternator on my wife's Tahoe. Alternator goes out when we're coming back from our grocery shopping. It's nighttime, so the headlights have to be on. We drive as far as we can. We don't want to pull over the side of the freeway because there's no actual lights on the side of the highway that we're on. So we want to get to an intersection, a junction. We get up to a junction, pull over to 76 station. It's all lit up. We don't have to worry about cars running into us, anything like that. Get towed home. No big deal. The next morning, I make a couple phone calls, find an alternator, jump in my truck, run down to town, get the alternator. I took the other alternator off first so I wouldn't have to make a second trip because there was a core charge on an alternator. So I took it in, got the new one, come back, put it on, hook it up. It's just an alternator. It's got a plug and a wire that bolts on, and you disconnect the battery. 2 bolts at the bottom that hold it on. It's easy peasy. So I get it put on the alternator put on the Tahoe, and I jump in my truck because the battery is basically dead in the Tahoe. I pull my truck down and I hook the jumper cables up, and I go inside, and it's still basically morning time and I need another cup of coffee. So I grab another cup of coffee, talk with wife a little bit, come out, looking at it. Well, it's been a few minutes, 5 minutes or so. Fire the Tahoe up, starts right up, good deal. Disconnect the jumper cables, back the truck up to where it's parked, where I always park it, right in front of the Connex boxes. And I'm walking back down to move the Tahoe into its parking spot, and I notice there's like a trail of liquid going down to the Tahoe. And at first, I was thinking, well, I'm in the tow truck. It backed right up to that spot where the Tahoe was. Could have been condensation out of the exhaust pipe of the tow truck, or who knows what, the night before. I just kind of wrote it off. Yeah, line of liquid, who knows what it is. Well, I get down to right in front of the Tahoe, and there's a puddle of liquid, and it's fresh. This is the next morning. We got towed home the night before. This is the next morning. It's fresh. So what do? Stick your finger in it, smell it. Yeah, it's diesel fuel. Okay. I've had diesel leaks on that truck before. I had to replace the fuel pump, which is about 6 inches behind that canister that I just put in. So I've had the whole thing apart. I replaced all the hoses when I did the fuel pump, but maybe one didn't get tight enough. Go up there, look around, definitely a diesel leak. It's got diesel on the valley of the motor there. Fire the truck up, and I see right where the diesel fuel's coming from. This is my old fuel filter housing, and this is a fuel pressure regulator of some sort right here. Well, the O-ring underneath here is bad. So I talked to a couple people that I know and make a couple text messages to a couple mechanics, and you can buy a rebuild kit for that. Rebuild it. It's going to save you a ton of money. This canister right here, the cheapest I could find it, that wasn't going to take, well, I don't know how long it would have taken online to ship it. I'm guessing it over a week to ship it online. If you buy something off eBay, it usually takes a week to get here. I got this new one overnight at the auto parts store about an hour away. But before we get to that, I took this apart. I took this little thing off, took the ring clip off, went down. I couldn't find a rebuild kit, so I went to Ace. They have, the Ace in our town has just bins of O-rings, every different size O-ring you can imagine. So I grab an O-ring that's identical to the one that's in here that I took down there. I come back and I put it back together, bolt it all back in. I have this whole thing out of the car, so I'm like, well, I got a new fuel filter in the toolbox in my truck. I'm gonna go grab it. It's time to put a new fuel filter in, you know? And the last time I put a fuel filter in, it was in the truck. You just drain the pressure out, take it out, put the new filter in, whatever. I didn't even look inside. And I've only had this truck for a year and a half. So I popped the fuel filter off, and I notice that, number one, there's a spring. This little spring is floating around in the bottom of this canister. And I don't know how it got in there, where it came from, where it goes. And I start looking and I'm like, I wonder, what's that crusty looking stuff down on the bottom? That looks weird. Looks like some type of glue, some type of patchwork. So I get a pick tool and I pick it up out of the bottom. I don't know exactly what this is. It's broken now because I broke it to see basically what it was, if it was plastic, something. It might be JB Weld. I really have no idea what this is. But that kind of concerns me. Why is there some type of glue, JB Weld, in the bottom of this canister? So I start looking a little closer, and I notice, let me clean this up a little bit. There's glue. Hopefully you can see this. Glue dripping down or up on the filter. And there's a hole right here. I don't know what type of glue this is. It's like a yellowish color. If you look inside, you can see the glue, and there's a definite hole there in the bottom of this housing. So somebody's been in there. Oh, and the pickup tube right here in the middle, that's busted off. That's supposed to be about another inch taller, and there's 4 posts right here that let the fuel through a filter in the middle. And I'm guessing that's where the spring came from, is in the middle there. This little pickup tube actually has a cap on the top of it and some kind of filter screen. But that's broken off. So there's no more little filter going through there. Yeah, I could have ran it just like that. I didn't have to buy a new one. It's been holding for I don't know how long. I've had the truck for a year and a half, never noticed it. Who knows how long it would hold? But to me, this is a quick fix. This is a fix that you would do when you're at your house. You've got to use this truck to get to the auto parts store to get a new part. So you fix it how you can, you hook it back up, you cross your fingers it makes it to town and back, and then you put a new part in. This is not what I do to my car or my truck and then drive it consistently knowing that that's there. That's going to leave you stranded on the side of the road, my opinion. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's some type of JB Weld glue that is meant for this application and it's going to stay there forever. But since I'm not the one that did it, I don't know. I don't know what that is. And it's not done, it's not clean. Usually if a mechanic is going to fix something with a glue, it's going to be a clean fix. You're not going to see big drips and gobs hanging down on the outside. And there's actually a drip on the inside where the glue dripped out of that hole and stuck to the inside of this canister. The other thing that's supposed to be in here is a heating element. And I had no idea. Whoever took it out took the pickup tube off because the heating element is held in by the pickup tube. So they took the pickup tube off, took the heating element out, put the pickup tube back on. There's a little tab down in there that heating element clips into to make contact, and it hooks up right here. Now, I would have never known that was missing. I'm assuming that you're supposed to heat your diesel up as it cycles through to make it run better in the wintertime when it's super cold. I'm assuming that's what that heating element is for. It's in the new one, and that's the only way I knew it was supposed to be in there is because I went to make sure that the new casing actually had a filter in it, not just a cap on top. I took it off, I looked down and I was, that's an interesting little gadget down there that mine doesn't have. What's that for? Oh, that's a heating element. Cool. Now, hopefully my truck will start and run better in the cold weather, better than it did last year. But that's why I bought an entirely new canister, simply because it's got glue holding it together. This piece right here is actually rebuilt now. It's got new O-rings in it. I'll probably take that off and keep it just in case that one, 5 years down the road, decides to blow an O-ring. I can just swap it out and then rebuild the one that's on there. Now I can get back to working on the house. It's been fun, but I don't like working on my own cars, especially not doing mechanical work to my own cars. I'm not a mechanic by trade, I'm a body man by trade. Mechanics is something I struggle with, and I tend to curse a lot, so it's not going to go on film. I try and keep this channel as family friendly as possible, and me working on cars is not going to fit in that little category. But we'll get back to work on the house, get some more stuff done. I have an electrician going to come out and look at what I've done so far and make sure it's going to pass, it's routed correctly, nothing's out of skew. He's going to answer a bunch of my questions on where to put specific stuff, smoke detectors, what type of smoke detectors I can use, whether they all have to be hardwired in, all that kind of stuff. Until next time, guys, go make something.